So you've been given a research task for history class and you need to create sub-questions. However, you don't know what this means or how to write them. You've come to the right video. You're going to learn what sub-questions are, how to create them, and how to ensure they deliver you some high-level grades. So let's begin. Welcome back to another History Skills video. Today we're looking at how to create sub-questions for a history research task. The creation of sub-questions only happens once you've completed the first two steps in the research process, which we covered in previous videos. That is, creating a key inquiry question and conducting background research. If you haven't done these steps yet, it will make the creation of sub-questions very difficult and you'll get frustrated. So I encourage you to go back and watch those two videos first, then come back to this one. However, once you have finalised your key inquiry question and feel comfortable with your historical topic after doing background research, you are ready to write your sub-questions. But what are sub-questions? Sub-questions are research questions that you write in order to help you answer your key inquiry question. They are usually more specific in nature than the key inquiry question. We create sub-questions because usually the key inquiry question is too broad to be able to answer directly. Therefore, you need to break your key inquiry question into smaller questions, called sub-questions, in order to answer it effectively. The benefit of this is, at the end of the research process, by answering each of your sub-questions through source research, you will ultimately have an answer for your key inquiry question. So how do you create sub-questions? A good key inquiry question can easily be divided into three separate parts, which can each be turned into separate sub-questions. If you have done good background research, you should be able to quickly identify three obvious divisions of your key inquiry question. To do this, firstly look at your key inquiry question and identify three distinct elements that can become the focus for your three sub-questions. For example, if your question is, what were the military, political and economic causes of the Cuban Missile Crisis? You can easily see that we can use the military, political and economic differences to build sub-questions around. However, the division of some key inquiry questions are not always this simple. For example, a key inquiry question could be, why was King Richard III a significant historical figure? In this instance, it would appear that we do not have three unique elements to focus upon. However, if you look carefully, we could use the word significance to build three distinct elements. For example, we could focus on three different ways he could be significant, perhaps his cultural, social, and military significance in English history. If you want to see a full example of how we create these questions, a detailed step-by-step example is provided at the end of this video. So how do you create good sub-questions? Well, once you've identified the three elements that will become your sub-questions, you are ready to write them. Firstly, each sub-question should follow these two rules. Firstly, they need to be open questions. This means that they cannot be answered with a simple single-word answer like yes or no or 1943 or Churchill. To ensure you have open questions, try to start your sub-questions with the words what, why or how. Secondly, make sure you incorporate terms and concepts that you learnt during your background research into your sub-questions. In the first example above, we identified that we could focus on the military, political and economic causes of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Therefore, some simplistic sub-questions could be, what were the military causes of the Cuban Missile Crisis? What were the political causes of the Cuban Missile Crisis? And what were the economic causes of the Cuban Missile Crisis? However, these are still too simplistic to serve us well, so we now need to know how to turn these simplistic sub-questions into sophisticated sub-questions. To turn your starting sub-questions into high-level sub-questions, you need to go back to your background research and start incorporating specific names, dates, places or terms that will make each sub-question extremely specific. For example, when we identified the fact that we could focus on the economic causes of the Cuban Missile Crisis, we still needed to identify a specific economic event and the individuals who were involved in it. Therefore, a more sophisticated version of the sub-question could be, how did Fidel Castro's reliance on Soviet economic aid after 1959 change the balance of power in the region? As you can see, the question now focuses on a single person during a particular historical moment, yet still helps answer the key inquiry question. This is now considered to be a sophisticated sub-question and will be crucial in helping you achieve high marks on your research assignment. Now that you know what sub-questions are and how to create them, let's look at a full example to show you how to do it yourself. For this example, our key inquiry question is, why were the experiences of the British, Canadian, American Armed Forces different during the D-Day landings? As you can see, we can isolate the British, Canadian, and American experiences as the three elements we can build sub-questions around. Firstly, we can create simplistic questions by simply saying, 1. What was unique about the experiences of the British Armed Forces during the D-Day landings? 2. What was unique about the experiences of the Canadian Armed Forces during the D-Day landings? And 3. What was unique about the experiences of the American Armed Forces during the D-Day landings? However, we can easily make these more sophisticated by making them more specific based upon our background research. For each of the three sub-questions, we then conducted background research about the D-Day event and found a range of specific locations, groups, and terms. After inserting these details into our sub-questions, here is what they became. 1. How did the use of the 6th Airborne Division support the success of the British landings at Sword Beach? 2. To what degree was the use of DD tanks crucial in Canadian successes at Juno Beach? And 3. Why were the casualties much higher for the American forces at Omaha Beach? Hopefully by now you can see that these are highly focused sub-questions, and that by finding the answers to them, we will ultimately answer our key inquiry question. Now that you have a better understanding of how to create effective sub-questions, I hope that you feel more confident in your studies. If you need further explanations, examples, and advice, head over to the historyskills.com website, and I'll see you next time.